Garri is a staple food in many West African countries, particularly Nigeria. It is derived from cassava, a root crop that undergoes several processing steps to produce the final product. And approximately 148 million people in Nigeria, of about 74% of the population, consume Garri regularly. However, the demand for Garri often outstrips local production, leading to price inflation and scarcity in the market. Historically, Garri production in Nigeria has been labor-intensive and manual, and its key steps include peeling, washing, grating, fermenting, dewatering, and frying the cassava mash. Despite some improvements, most operations are still executed manually, except for peeling and frying. The challenges, however, lie not in sourcing cassava roots, but in outdated techniques and machinery. So you see, all my life, I have known Garri.
Yeah.
Garri is a lifesaver in Nigeria. Garri has always been that lifesaver. You see, in fact, these days, I think sometime on the media, I saw parents, package Garri in a pack.
Okay.
Garri with sugar and granules. That's like a new innovation
Exactly.
on how to package Garri.
Yeah.
And they send it, they give it to their children to take to school.
Exactly.
So Garri has always been one very huge lifesaver.
Yeah,
every Nigerian
from what you said, 74%, of Nigerians consume Garri regularly, and for us, on this show, Market Movers, that is an interesting business opportunity. And to say that Garri has been a staple food for us in this country for this number of years, for this percentage of people, ought to bring about more of innovation in terms of how we produce, how it's being processed, so far. But from what you are saying, we have remained, on the
local way
exactly.
we used to produce Garri. I mean, there should be a conversion of the cassava to Garri machines. There should be a use of that right now. But unfortunately, what we still see is the olden patterns.
Yes.
And right now, I'm beginning to wonder, so in fact, a lot of people today has made Garri processing or procession. They've used that resource
method.
Value they've always had to now form themselves to be CEO producers of this Garri. Unfortunately, they've always still been on that same processing pattern. But I know very well that, like we mentioned when we mentioned in the oil production, oils these days has always been produced in their own old local ways.
Yes.
Which I know very well that it's caused the bacterial infection.
Yeah.
On
it brings about a lot of infection.
Exactly.
In the process.
Exactly, and that is why we started talking or saying that oil production should be harnessed, should be changed and repackaged in a new modern way. And that's the same thing I'm going to say to the Garri procession, because Garri is very vital. But however, if we want to add some more value and packaging to Garri, then it should, the way at which we process it should be harnessed. Yeah,
so I think the purpose of all this is to advocate, the relevant authorities. We have engineers, the Nigerian Society of Engineers. Beyond the Nigerian Society of Engineers, we have NASENI, which is more like the industrial arm of the government, in terms of fabricating machines and equipment for Nigerian business community. I think this is a call to this, this group, these agencies of government, and in fact the private sector, as represented by the Nigerian Society of Engineers, to begin a process of designing, machineries.
Exactly.
All right.
I admire other countries, and I think as we move on, we're going to see how other countries literally, process this format of Garri. So, yes, in other countries, advanced Garri processing techniques have been developed, including mechanized and automated processes. And its technologies significantly reduce post-harvest losses and labor requirements. However, Nigeria lags behind in adopting these innovations, leading to inefficiencies and economic losses. The lack of modern processing methods affects both farmers and industrial processors, and its manual labor increases production cost, reduces efficiency, and limits scalability. The shortage of Garri poses a threat to food security in Nigeria today, and on the recommendation to address these challenges, Nigerians should invest in research to improve indigenous processing equipment and machines, and on the local fabrication, collaborate with local fabricators to design cost-effective, large-scale Garri processing equipment, educate farmers and processors about modern techniques and their benefits. Also, provide incentives for adopting mechanized processes, and on the public-private partnership, foster collaborations between researchers, industry, and policymakers. Before we conclude, absolutely, like I said, I've always admired how the other people, the other countries process these Garris, and I feel like Garri is literally going to add more value. We're not saying that we want the prices increased. Hello. But we're saying...
No. We can't advocate for price increase.
Do you get that? Because, I mean, a lifesaver.
Yeah, it's a lifesaver.
Always,
in fact, as a lifesaver. During our Voices from the Market, one of the people we engaged with in the market, was like, prior to this time, Garri was seen as, the food for the poor people, the food for the lower cadre of people in society. But that today, Garri has become a lifesaver in your own words. It has become
though increased in the price, slightly increased, but still a lifesaver.
Yeah, still a lifesaver. So what's the conclusion?
So greatly, Nigeria's Garri industry has immense potential, but embracing modern processing technologies is crucial for sustainable growth. By investing in innovation and collaboration, we can ensure a thriving Garri sector that benefits both consumers and producers. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Madima, for that, your report on Garri processing. Garri, like you said, is a staple food. It's a lifesaver, and it's an opportunity for innovation and collaboration. Innovation and collaboration between the public and the private sector. But of course, very importantly, it's an opportunity for even the farmers to be able to also make a living out of what they do. Because majority, if you go to most of our rural areas in the southeast and south areas, majority of our rural parents rely on Garri, cassava farming for their livelihood. And so the more than they create a process where Garri can be processed in a more efficient manner, the more the Garri will be able to be exported. The more we can export Garri, and the more these rural farmers can have access to a better living condition.
Yes, and so before I leave the decks, I'm going to throw this question to the farmers. Do you think the farmer CEOs of the Garri production would really welcome the government to buy this and then introduce factories and industries in our country too?
Yeah, sure. I think that is the next thing that the government should be looking at doing. Thank you very much, Madima, for that report. We'll come back to you, our viewers, shortly after the short break. Don't go anywhere. You are live for Market Movers.